Hey everyone, it's Angie Norris and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Angie's Book Adventures. Tonight is Monday, June the 9th, and we're going to be doing my May 2025 reading wrap up. So I did a video back at the end of April where I chose my May TBR list, and I had 7 books on my TBR list. I'm going to link that video in the description. I also may link it in the comments as well, so it'll be easy for you to click on it and go back and watch that video if you would like to. But of the 7 books that were originally on my TBR list, I read 5 of those. I did not get to 2 of them, and the 2 that I did not get to were The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna and Dragonfly by Leila Meacham. I did, however, read a total of 9 books for the month of May. So I read 5 that were on my TBR list and an additional 4. And 2 of those additional 4 that I read were NetGalley books that I all of a sudden in May got approved to read. And I really do need to research this a little more, but I do think that there is a time limit when you are approved for an advanced reader copy on NetGalley. If you're not familiar with that, it is a website where you can request to be an early reader and receive an advanced reader copy of books that have not been published yet. And I do believe that you do have a certain time frame that you need to read them in so that you can do a review on them. So I try to read them within the first 2 weeks to 30 days after I received that email saying that I've been approved. So I snuck 2 of those in the month of May, and then I also had 2 audiobooks. So a total of 9 books. That was a really good month for me. So let's go through and talk about what I read. Okay, I have to turn the ring light off so there won't be a glare on my iPad. The first book that I read was House of Glass by Sarah, I believe it's pronounced Pekkanen, but I am not certain. Okay, for some reason I was thinking this was an audiobook. It was not, but it was one that I actually started the end of April and I finished it on May the 4th. So it was the first book that I finished in the month of May. This was a book of the month club in one of my choices for last year. I do not remember when it came out, what month it was, and the book is packed up, so I can't show it to you, but that's what the cover looked like. It was a mystery thriller, and quite honestly, I've never read anything by this author and don't know that I want to read anything else. It just did not resonate with me. I gave it a 3-star rating. Okay, second book was an audiobook, and as an adult, I am reading the Harry Potter series. I started with a group back in January, and this is the 3rd book in the Harry Potter series, and it is entitled Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Turn the ring light back on. There we go. I am enjoying the Harry Potter series. This so far, book 3 was my favorite book. And I gave this one a 4-star. Oh, I forgot to say before I paused the video, I actually had the physical book of this. It was just a reader paperback copy, but I was able to grab it on audio, and that's how I read this book, was on audio. The narrator is phenomenal. I mean, I flew through this book. It was great. I really enjoyed the narrator. Okay, the 3rd book that I read during the month of May was for a book club that I facilitate on Facebook in a Facebook group called Angie's Adventures. And they chose a dystopian, and this was our choice for the month of May, The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Okay, now I'm probably going to say something controversial here, so hang on to your sweet tea. So, you know how all of us book lovers always say the book is better than the movie? The book was not better than the TV series that I watched on Netflix a few years ago. It just wasn't. I knew how the story was going to go, and the book just dragged for me. I gave it a 3-star. Okay, book number 4 was one of my NetGalley advanced reader copies, and this was a book by Heather Weber, and it is due to be published, I believe this one is November of 2025, The Forget-Me-Not Library. Now, I have read, I think, a total of 4 books by Heather Weber. The very first book that I ever read by her was last year, and it was Midnight at the Blackbird Cafe. This author writes, I don't know that you really classify them as historical fiction because they're not typically set around an event in history, but they're all set in quaint little southern towns. I think all 4 that I've read so far have all been set in a fictional town in the state of Alabama, because I believe that's where Heather Weber is from. So I'm from the South. I live in North Carolina. I love little stories about small southern towns, and this is what this one was about. It is set in the fictional town of Forget-Me-Not, Alabama, and it primarily is told from the point of view of 2 different women who become friends. And there's always a little magical twist or magical element in Heather Weber's books, and this one had the same thing. I love everything that Heather Weber writes. She is an author that I'm going to read to zero. I have 3 more physical books on my TBR shelf to read by her, and I am just dying to get to them as soon as I can. I gave this a 5-star. I did a YouTube book review video of this book. I'll link that below as well so that you can go back and hear more about this book. Okay, the next book that I read during the month of May is a book entitled In a Book Club Far Away by Tiff Marcello. Boy, I am getting texted tonight a lot. I apologize. This was one of my books that I chose from a jar prompt, but I also incorporated it into a new book club that I just joined that is an annotated book share club. So I just joined it. The first round started in May, and so I annotated this book and have sent it on to the next recipient. This is a more contemporary fiction, women's fiction type book. It's actually, I mean, who doesn't love a book about a book club? But it's also about 3 women who are army wives, and they met each other on a base or a post, that they were stationed on several years ago. And then one of them needs an SOS and sends up an SOS, and the other 2 friends come back to help her. I was interested in it because A, who doesn't love a book about a book club, and B, my husband was retired military as well. He was not in the Army, he was in the Air Force. So it resonated with me, a lot of the references to the military things in the book. I am very stingy with 5 stars. So even though I enjoyed this book and I thought it was a very relaxing, cozy read, I only gave it a 4-star. It's really hard for me to give a 5-star. I'm pretty stingy with them. Okay, next up on my May read was Fuquay Varina, Ghost Legends and Lore. This book was chosen from a jar prompt, and the prompt was to read a book that you were gifted, I believe. I think that was the prompt. Anyway, that was on the list because that book was gifted to me during the month of April for my birthday by my daughter, and I got 2 copies of it, and from a friend of mine. Fuquay Varina is the town where I live in, and there were 2 local women that wrote this book. It came out last year, right before Halloween, and it talks about the different ghost stories and legends and lores in and around the town that I live in. So it wasn't a very long book. It was less than 200 pages, and it was a cute little fun read, and I gave it a 4-star. Okay, next up was another NetGalley read, and this is The Secret Book Society by Madeline Martin. Now, this was a historical fiction, and I am a huge historical fiction fan. And what intrigued me about this book was that it was a book about a secret book society. And yes, I absolutely loved it. I have done a YouTube review of this for NetGalley. I'll post the link below so that you can hear more about what this book was about. I won't go into it a lot here, but I did give it a 5 stars. So I do give out 5 stars. This one was exceptional. It is due to be published in August of 2025. You guys need to pre-order it. Okay, the next one is The Love Elixir of Augusta Stern by Lydia Cohen Loigman. I'm not sure if that's the proper pronunciation. This was actually a physical book that I owned. It was a book of the month choice for me at some point last year. It sounded like a cute contemporary fiction, and the reason I was drawn to it is because the characters in the book are all senior citizens. In fact, they're all in their 70s and 80s. And it primarily focuses around a woman named Augusta Stern and her story of retirement and how she moves to Florida from New York. She moves to a retirement village in Florida. She is a retired pharmacist. And at this retirement village in Florida, she actually runs into her high school sweetheart. And the love elixir, she was a pharmacist, and how even at 80 years old, you can find love again. I did enjoy this book. Like I said, I'm a little stingy with 5 stars, so I gave this one a 4 star, but I would recommend it. And then the final book that I read during the month of May is a book by Agatha Christie, And Then There Were None. So this was a choice that was made for me because it was a book club choice, a book club that actually meets in person. It's some ladies from my church and then some other ladies. I just joined it back in April. They only meet every other month. So we're meeting again on June 12th, which is this week on Thursday night. So I read this and actually finished it up the end of May. I had never read anything by, and this is the only book that I can actually physically show you, the book. It only had like 247 pages or so, 250 so pages or so. I had never read anything by Agatha Christie. You know, and she's supposed to be the famous mystery writer. I don't know. I don't know if it was because it was kind of old school to me. It was set back in the 1920s or 30s. Where these 10 people go to this island and then they all eventually get killed off one by one. It was very predictable. I love a mystery thriller, but I don't like it when I figure it out in the first 5 chapters, and that's what I did to this one. So overall, I gave this one a 3 star. Okay, so that wraps up my May 2025 reading. There were a total of 9. 2 NetGalleys, an audio, and then the rest were physical books. I have already started my June reading list. I did a June TBR video, and I think that one went up the end of last week. So I do have 7 books on my TBR for June. And if you want to watch that TBR jar prompt video for June, I'll link that in the description and the comments below so you can go back and watch that and see what I'm reading in the month of June. If you've hung out with me this long, I really appreciate it. Thank you so very much for watching my video. Please share it with your book-loving friends. I need more views. I'm a newbie at this. I've only been doing booktube videos for about 6 months or so, so I need some subscribers. I need some viewers. So if you'd hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you'll be notified when I upload a new video, I would greatly appreciate it. And y'all come hang out with me again here in North Carolina and listen to my Southern accent. I'd love to see you again. Y'all have a good night. Bye-bye.